Growing up, I never thought my family was perfect, but I believed we were close. We weren't rich. We weren't loud. We were dependable. Predictable. 3 siblings, 2 parents, and a dining room table that always had just enough chairs. We had traditions. Taco Tuesday. Friday board games. Sunday dinner, pot roast, green beans, and my dad's awful jokes that made my mom roll her eyes. So when that rhythm started to shift, I didn't notice right away. It was subtle. Missed texts. Half-finished conversations. Plans I wasn't invited to, explained away as last minute, or just something quick after work. And I believed it. Because why would I think otherwise? I'm the middle child. Older sister, Marissa. Younger brother, Tyler. We were always different, but close. Marissa's the polished one, polished career, polished nails, polished responses to every uncomfortable question. Tyler's the charmer. Funny, flaky, never holds a job longer than 6 months, but somehow always lands on his feet. And me? I was the glue. The one who remembered birthdays. The one who organized holidays. The one who showed up, even when I wasn't asked. It started with a dinner I didn't know about. I saw it in a photo Marissa posted on her Instagram story, just a quick pan across a restaurant table. I paused. Recognized the hands. My mom's bangles. Tyler's obnoxious watch. Marissa's fiancé, clinking glasses with my dad. Everyone. Except me. I texted her. Nice dinner. When was that? She replied with, oh, last minute. Tyler was in town. Dad picked the place. We figured you were probably working. I wasn't. I was home. Phone in hand. Calendar wide open. And it wasn't the first time. The second time was a group dinner at Marissa's place. My mom let it slip during a phone call. Your aunt said the roast was perfect, and she doesn't even like roast beef, so that's saying something. What roast? Oh, the one Marissa hosted last weekend. It was just small. Nothing formal. Was Tyler there? Of course. And you didn't invite me? A pause. We just assumed you were busy. Busy. It became their excuse for everything. Too busy to call. Too busy to update me. Too busy to make space for me. But I was never too busy for them. I tried brushing it off. Told myself families drift. Schedules get complicated. Group texts glitch. But it wasn't drifting. It was deliberate. One night, I finally asked my mom outright. Have I done something? Said something? Why do I keep missing these dinners? She sounded surprised. What are you talking about? You've had 4 dinners in the last 2 months. I found out about every single one after the fact. Oh, sweetie. It's not intentional. We get caught up. All of you? Every time? Silence. Then, let's not turn this into drama. That was it. Not an apology. Not a correction. Just a deflection, like I was the problem for noticing. And that's when I stopped asking. Because clearly, the dinners weren't the problem. I was. But I couldn't figure out why. And the longer I went without answers, the more I started to realize something uncomfortable. They weren't just forgetting me. They were hiding something. It wasn't a dramatic reveal. It was a casual comment, the kind that sticks in your ribs long after it's spoken. A family friend, Robin, stopped by my apartment one afternoon to drop off some old photos. She used to live next door to my parents, and stayed close to my mom over the years. We made tea. Talked about her garden. Nothing heavy. Until she said, "It was nice seeing everyone at Marissa's last week. Felt like the whole family was there." I blinked. "Oh, I didn't make it to that one." She looked confused. "Really? I thought you were just sitting it out these days." "That's what your mom said." "Sitting it out?" I smiled politely. Changed the subject. But inside, something flipped. Because now I wasn't just being forgotten. I was being edited out. Later that night, I called Marissa. "Did Mom say I didn't want to come to the dinners?" "She might have mentioned it." "Did you believe her?" A pause. "Honestly? I figured you were taking space." "From what?" "From the family." "You are the family." "Look, I don't know, okay? Things just shifted. Not for me. I didn't shift. I hung up. No yelling. No accusations. Just a weight in my chest that felt like I'd been pushed out of my own house and handed a stranger's coat on the way out. I started thinking back. Noticing more. Group chats that no longer included me. Photos on my mom's fridge that I wasn't in. Plans that seemed to materialize only after I declined something else. Even holidays started to feel rehearsed. Like they were performing a version of family they didn't actually include me in, but still wanted credit for pretending they did. And the worst part? I still showed up. Still bought gifts. Still RSVP'd. Yes. Still asked if anyone needed help with the table or the dishes, or the decorations. I was still playing my part, even though the script had been rewritten without me. One afternoon, I drove over to my parents' house unannounced. I don't usually do that. But I needed to see them, not through text or second-hand updates or filtered photos. In real time. I knocked. My mom opened the door. Surprised. But not warm. Is everything okay? Yeah. Just wanted to say hi. She hesitated. We're kind of in the middle of something. I glanced past her. Voices in the kitchen. Laughter. Plates clinking. A dinner party. Unscheduled. Unmentioned. Is Marissa here? Yes. Tyler? Yes. Anyone else? She didn't answer. I nodded. Got it. And I turned around. Didn't argue. Didn't demand to be let in. Just left. Because I wasn't going to beg for a seat at a table I used to sit at. That night I got a text from Tyler. Heard you stopped by. You good? Yeah. Just caught the wrong moment, I guess. Mom said you're being dramatic. There it was again. Dramatic. The word families use when they don't want to be accountable. But this wasn't about drama. It was about deliberate distance. And I was done pretending it was an accident. So I did what I hadn't done in years. I stepped back, not to punish, but to see what would happen when I stopped chasing clarity. And what happened? They stopped reaching out completely. For weeks. Then a month. Then 2. No texts. No calls. No passive miss you messages. Nothing. Until I got a phone call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. And what did they tell me? Changed everything. The call came on a Thursday. Late afternoon, just as I was about to shut my laptop. The name on the screen made me pause. Nate. We hadn't talked in years. Grew up down the street. Ate dinner at each other's houses more times than I could count. He was like a fourth sibling when we were kids. But after college we drifted. I answered out of curiosity. Hey, this is unexpected. Yeah. I wasn't sure I should call. But I saw something the other day, and I figured. You should know. My stomach tightened. Know what? He hesitated. Then, I ran into your brother at a bar last weekend. He didn't see me. Was talking to some guy, bragging about how he didn't think you'd ever figure it out. Figure it out? That they've been cutting you out on purpose. That it was coordinated. Why? That's the thing. He said it was your dad's idea. That there was something in the family trust your dad didn't want you to find out about. I stood up from my chair without realizing it. What trust? Exactly. That's why I called. Because I remembered your parents had one. I remember them talking about it when we were kids. A family trust. Something I had never once heard about directly. No mention in any holiday dinner. No conversation during college. Nothing. And now, my brother was bragging about keeping me out of the loop. I ended the call with Nate, thanked him for telling me. Then I sat down and started making a list. Every time I'd asked about college funds. Every holiday where the financials got discussed after I left the room. The time I'd offered to help with estate paperwork, my mom told me. It's all handled. You don't need to worry about that stuff. Maybe I should have been furious. But what I felt wasn't rage. It was clarity. Like all the tiny red flags I'd ignored were now standing in a line, waving in sync. The next day, I called a lawyer. Not because I wanted to sue anyone. But because I needed the truth, with no more filters. If there were a family trust, there'd be a record. If my name wasn't on it, that would say something. And if it was, and they'd kept that from me, that would say even more. It took 2 weeks to get a full picture. And when the documents arrived, I opened them like a person reads a will they're not expecting to be in. Cautiously. Without hope. But there it was. My name. Listed clearly as a beneficiary. And not just a minor one. 1/3, split evenly with my siblings. Exactly as it should have been. Except, the trust had been amended. 2 years ago. A clause was added citing family cohesion and communication as factors in disbursement eligibility. In short, if I wasn't attending family functions and remaining actively connected, my portion could be restructured or held indefinitely. Signed by my father. Witnessed by my mother. No notice was sent to me. I stared at the signature for a long time. The same hand that used to sign my permission slips had quietly signed me out of my own family's legacy. It wasn't just exclusion anymore. It was sabotage. They hadn't just stopped inviting me to dinner. They'd built a paper trail to justify why I wouldn't get a seat at the table, figuratively and financially. And suddenly, everything made sense. The missed invites. The rewritten group texts. The story my mom told people, that I was pulling away, too busy, not interested. They weren't confused about my absence. They needed it. Because if I stayed present, they couldn't erase me from the story. I didn't tell them I knew. Not at first. Because I wanted to see how long they would keep pretending everything was fine. How long they'd play the part of the hurt family while quietly orchestrating my erasure on paper. I started testing it in small ways. A message to the group chat, asking about a family friend's birthday dinner. No reply. Then another offering to help organize Thanksgiving this year. Radio silence. Not even a thumbs up. I wasn't surprised. But I wanted to give them one last chance. To admit something. Anything. Even a weak excuse would have been better than the silence. Instead, they acted like I didn't exist. So I sent them all an email. Short. Calm. Direct. I recently reviewed documents related to the family trust. I'm aware of the amendment added 2 years ago, including the clause referencing my involvement with the family. I'd like to meet and discuss this in person. I signed it with my full name. Professional. Measured. No emotion. 2 days later, my mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. We don't need to have a meeting about legal things. That's not what family does. We should talk, just you and me. Then Tyler texted. Dude. Why are you acting like a lawyer now? Then Marissa. I had no idea about the trust changes. If that's true. I'm sorry. Only one of them sounded sincere. I pushed forward. Set a date. Saturday. Their house. The same table where we used to eat taco salads and overcooked pasta. I got there 5 minutes early. They were already seated. My mom had that brittle smile on, the one she uses when she's trying to keep a lid on something boiling. My dad looked older than I remembered. Not fragile, but diminished. Like he'd finally started carrying the weight he used to toss at everyone else. I sat down. Pulled out a manila envelope. Slid it across the table. No drama. Just proof. You changed the trust. No denial. Just silence. I looked at my mom. You witnessed it. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Looked at my dad. He cleared his throat. It wasn't meant to be permanent. It was just insurance. Against what? Against conflict. You've been pulling away for years. No. I stopped chasing a seat at a table you were actively pushing me away from. My voice didn't rise. Because I wasn't there to make them feel bad. I was there to make them look at what they'd done. You wrote me out of the legacy. Not just financially, but emotionally. You built a system where my silence helped you sleep at night. My mom spoke then. Soft. You've always been the one who didn't need us. That doesn't mean I deserved less. There it was. Their core misunderstanding, that being low maintenance was permission to be ignored. That independence was rejection. That quiet meant unworthy. They didn't apologize. They said, we didn't think you'd ever see it. And that was honest, They had counted on me being too polite, too distant, too passive to ever look behind the curtain. I stood up. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to inform. I'll be taking legal action to have the amendment reversed. If that doesn't happen, I'll pursue full legal recourse, and I won't be quiet about it. My dad looked away. My mom said, "You're really going to sue your own family? You're not my family. You're just people who used to feel like home." I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't cry in the car. Just sat still. Breathing. Because that confrontation wasn't about revenge. It was about reality. They didn't just shut me out. They wrote it down. Signed it. Filed it. Buried it. And they hoped I'd never read it. 3 weeks after the confrontation, I got an email from their lawyer. Not from my parents. Not from anyone in the family. A lawyer. The subject line was clinical. Trust Amendment Negotiation Proposal. Inside, a 4-page PDF. Boiled down, it said this. They would revert the amendment, reinstate me as a full beneficiary, if I agreed to sign a statement waiving any future challenges or legal reviews. Buried in the fine print was a clause that made me stop reading. Beneficiary agrees not to publicly or privately challenge family decisions made in good faith. There it was. The real offer. Not reconciliation. Silence. They didn't want to fix anything. They wanted me to shut up. I forwarded the document to my attorney. She replied, "They're trying to buy your silence. You don't have to accept that. What happens if I say no? We escalate. Trusts are legal documents. If they added that clause after you became an adult, without proper notification, it's challengeable. Especially if coercion or deception is involved. What are the odds I win? Higher than they expect." So I said no. Not with fireworks. Not with threats. Just a short message. I won't trade my voice for a seat at your table. After that, things got quiet. Not awkward quiet. Not tension quiet. Dead quiet. No texts. No voicemails. No, let's talk this through. They understood, finally, that I wasn't bluffing. But Marissa called me privately. She'd stayed out of the legal side of it. "I didn't know the clause was real," she said. "I thought it was just a rumor. It was real. I'm sorry. I should have asked more questions. You're not responsible for what they did." She hesitated. "They're acting like you burned the house down." I didn't. I just walked out of it with the lights on. She asked if I wanted to meet. Not as a family. Just her. I said yes. We sat at a coffee shop the next week. She brought a photo album, old birthday parties, beach trips, Christmas mornings. The years when we still felt like a real unit. She pointed at one picture. Age 12. Blowing out candles. Everyone smiling. "You were the happiest kid I knew," she said. "I really thought we were solid." "We were," she said. "Until they decided that being solid wasn't useful anymore." We talked for hours. Not to fix anything. Just to stop rewriting it. And before she left, she said something that stayed with me. "They needed you quiet so they wouldn't have to feel guilty. But now, you've made it impossible to forget what they did." A week later, I filed the formal petition. Full challenge. Cited the amendment. Provided my communications. Let the court see how the trust had been manipulated to control relationships instead of protecting them. The process would take time. But I wasn't in a rush. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't stuck in reaction mode. I wasn't waiting for a dinner invite, a birthday call, or a breadcrumb of inclusion. I was just free. I went for a run that afternoon. My usual route, old sidewalks, quiet neighborhoods, kids on scooters. Past my childhood street. Stopped near my parents' house. Didn't stop. Didn't look up. Just ran by it like it was any other place I used to live. Because that's what it was now. Not a home. Just a location in a story I no longer needed to rewrite. The legal process moved slowly. Hearings, paperwork, and quiet updates from my lawyer every few weeks. I didn't check obsessively. Didn't pace around waiting for news. Because by then I had already let go of the part of me that needed their approval or their punishment. I wasn't doing it to get back at them. I was doing it to stop pretending I hadn't been erased. In the meantime, I lived. Really lived. Work was steady. My apartment finally felt like a home, not just a holding space between family visits that never came. I traveled. Saw places I'd put off for years. Read more. Slept better. Laughed more, mostly with people who knew nothing about my family. And strangely, that helped. Because when you meet people who like you without any inherited expectation, you start to believe in the version of yourself that's not tied to old roles. Not the reliable one. Not the quiet one. Not the one who always picks up the slack. Just you. Months passed. Then one morning I got a call. My lawyer. We got a ruling. You've been reinstated as a full beneficiary. I sat there for a second. Not shocked. Just still. What about the clause? Void. The judge agreed it was coercive. Said the amendment was designed to manipulate family dynamics, not protect assets. It's off the record. That's it. That's it. I didn't celebrate. Didn't call anyone. Just made a cup of coffee and sat by the window, watching the sun rise over rooftops. Because in that moment, I felt something I hadn't in years. Not vindication. Relief. Not because I'd won. Because I didn't need to explain myself anymore. A week later, I got a certified letter. From my parents' attorney. Inside was a formal acknowledgement, confirming the reversal of the amendment, signed and notarized. No personal message. No, we're sorry. Just legal language. Cold and clean. Exactly like they'd tried to erase me. I tucked it into a drawer and went for a walk. No destination. Just movement. The kind of walk that feels like closure. Along the way, I passed a bookstore. Went in, picked up a journal, thick pages, bound in blue leather. That night I opened it to the first page and wrote. I was not the difficult one. I was not the ungrateful one. I was just the one who stopped accepting less. That journal became a ritual. Every week, a new page. Not about them. About me. The version of myself that existed without performance. The one that didn't ask for permission to be seen. The one that no longer begged for belonging. Marissa visited once. We made dinner. Just the two of us. No tension. No apologies owed or extracted. She said the family was still talking, quietly, carefully, always in circles. They don't understand how we got here. Because they think silence means peace. She nodded. You were the first one to break it. And I'm not sorry. Neither am I. We didn't talk about the trust again. Because it was never really about the money. It was about the principle. That you can't rewrite someone out of the family. And expect them to write you back when it's convenient. Years passed. Not suddenly, just quietly. Time didn't rush. It softened things. Not because it forgave them. Because it made their absence less relevant. The silence that once felt like punishment slowly became space. A room I could decorate however I wanted. I never reconnected with my parents. Not fully. They sent birthday cards once or twice. Typed messages without warmth. Hope you're doing well. Thinking of you? I didn't respond. Not out of bitterness. Out of honesty. Because any version of family that required erasing me first wasn't something I could return to, not even out of nostalgia. The trust settled. The estate was distributed. No lawsuits. No lingering tension. Just the quiet resignation of people who lost something they thought they could control forever. Me. I started writing again. Not about them. About choice. About autonomy. About what it means to walk away and stay gone, not out of anger, but clarity. I published a short essay once. It made the rounds in a small magazine. Titled, The Weight of Being the One Who Didn't Break. I didn't name anyone. Didn't have to. The people who needed to understand understood. I got married. A small ceremony. Mountains in the background. 20 guests. Not one of them was related to me by blood. But every person there had earned their seat at my table. And that meant more than lineage ever could. At the reception, someone asked, Will your parents be sad they weren't invited? I smiled. They had years of dinners without me. I figure one skip celebration is fair. We laughed. But I meant it. Not to be cruel. But to acknowledge the balance of things. Because I wasn't spiteful anymore. I was finished. One day, long after the wedding, I got a letter. From my mom. Real handwriting. No lawyer. Inside, just one paragraph. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know we did see you, even when we acted like we didn't. We were wrong. Not in a vague way. In a deliberate way. And I hope, someday, that sits differently than it does now. There was no return address. No request for contact. No manipulation. Just recognition. I didn't write back. But I didn't tear it up either. I keep it in a drawer, not for comfort, but for closure. Because that version of me, the one who kept asking, "What did I do wrong?" He deserved to know the answer was nothing. Now, I host dinners sometimes. Small ones. Chosen family. Warm lighting, mismatched chairs, open doors. We cook together. Clean together. Laugh until the candles burn low. And when someone thanks me for including them, I always say the same thing. Everyone here made space for each other. No one begged to be seen. And that's the legacy I care about now. Not what I inherited. Not what I was written out of. What I wrote myself into. You don't have to stay where you're tolerated. You don't have to fight to prove your worth. And you don't owe silence to people who erased you for convenience. You can leave. You can rebuild. You can host your own damn dinner. And when they finally ask why you're not coming back, let the empty chair speak for you.